Has the Fourth Great Ninja War been awesome or disappointing? Alright, so I want to talk a little bit about the Fourth Great Ninja War, and I know a lot of people have had mixed emotions and mixed thoughts on the whole war. Some people say that it's very disappointing. Some people say it's even one of the worst arcs in Naruto. Some people enjoy it thoroughly. You know, there's a lot of mixed emotions on this whole arc. So I want to talk a little bit about the goods, the bads, and my overall opinion on it thus far, where we're at right now. Alright, so to start off, some of the things about the war that people, have gripes about is one, the pacing of it. A lot of people say that in the beginning of the war, and particularly, it was very slow paced. Some of the fights kind of didn't make sense because it would have shinobis that shouldn't have been able to defeat some of these legendary shinobis, and they would win with fair ease. And one of the biggest gripes people have is that nobody's really died from the Allied side yet. And all of those complaints I definitely understand in some way or another. The beginning of the war wasn't the most fast-paced, I'll agree with that. Some of the victories over the, villains and whatnot probably shouldn't have been done that way. I definitely will agree with that. And the fact that somebody from the good guy side, like very important, hasn't died, I'll agree with as well, because definitely in order for a war to be more impactful, we got to have major deaths. Think about a couple of those is, first of all, you look at it, Kishimoto set up a war, so that means they're going to be fights that you don't really want to see, or fights that you didn't want to see again because it was a lot of people coming back from the dead. So you were going to feel a certain way about these fights anyway. If they went by fast, people were going to say, hey, why is this going by fast? I want to see more. These are just, quick fights. And then if they went by slow, the pacing, and, overall, a lot of these fights weren't the most, quote-unquote, cracked up, like, oh my gosh, I've been dying to see this fight. So that was probably the biggest problems as far as the pacing goes. As far as the characters not dying, I guess really, at the end of it, I'm hoping for, personally, that towards the end of the arc, some major characters are going to die. Now, it's not set in stone, obviously, so that does leave a void and a problem, and I will agree, some characters should have probably died, like the Tsuchikage probably should have died early on, as far as with the whole Madara fight goes, but he still might die, so we don't know that yet. The thing about it is, the war does have very impactful moments, and it does have a lot of closure it adds to some of the characters and their relationships, such as Sasuke and Itachi. Sasuke finally got some answers, and finally got to bond with his brother for a bit throughout the entire series, where it was an up and down roller coaster between the two. So, first of all, it added closure to that relationship. It added closure to quite a few different relationships. It also brought forth the whole thing with Madara coming out of the grave. It got Naruto to transform into what seems to be one of his ultimate transformations, Biju mode. You got a lot of different things going on. You got a lot of shinobis that were laid to rest. Like, for example, Sazori. He finally got peace and hearing words that were spoken. So, there was a lot of scenarios where the war actually helped to put closure, and that's what I think this war definitely has been doing, is adding a lot of closure to some of these fights, some of these relationships, and some of these even villains that, made them rethink of why they're villains and whatnot. So I definitely say that the war, as far as deaths go, yeah, it lacks in that department. Only the villains, for the most part, have been wiped out. But I do say that a lot of the epic moments definitely overshadow the bad moments, because every arc has its problems, and definitely I see the problems, but I definitely say that when you have the problems, that's fine, but you'll also have the big moments that'll really outweigh all of that and make you feel like, oh man, this is what I've been waiting for. And that's what I felt like with this arc, is that whenever something amazing happens, it blows my socks off and makes me feel like, this is why I love this stuff. There might be slow parts, yes, it's not the perfect arc, but overall it's still very awesome. I've, thoroughly enjoyed the war. Even on the slow parts, there have been some times where I'm like, it's good. At the end of the day, what do you want? Kishimoto kind of backed himself into a corner with having these characters that had to return for rematches, and a lot of people just didn't want to see them. And also the whole fact of ninjas that shouldn't have defeated ninjas, like for example, Tenten with the banana fan defeating Kakuzu, and Kakuzu, he was just very overpowered when he fought up against Naruto. Now, I'll understand that to an extent, but the banana fan did give her power that, the Ginkaku and Kinkaku brothers had. So, you gotta add and subtract. It's really just, at the end of the day, preference. If this really bothered you or something like that, I understand that. But there's also a reason why this happened, and there's a reason why that happened. For example, the villains in this arc, quote-unquote, half of them weren't even trying. They were being put against their will. And if they're not even using their own will, then they're definitely not going to have the same tactics, because half of them were droids, half of them were being pushed without even wanting to fight. So you got that aspect. Like, for example, the third Raikage, how he was like quote-unquote trolls. I understand that you would think, why is Naruto beating him with a simple trick? But at the same time, he wasn't using his own will. He didn't want to fight in this war. He didn't care. He was being pushed. So you don't really have that same thing. For example, if somebody took over Naruto's body, that's not Naruto, and at the end of the day, the techniques might look similar and whatnot, but it's not him, his will, the ninja himself fighting, and that's what made a lot of these shinobis a lot weaker, so that, you know, not weaker necessarily, but they weren't the same person, so they couldn't do the same things that they did when they were alive, and that's really what the whole reason with that is. Overall, the war so far, I've really enjoyed it. There have been slow parts, I definitely agree with that, but I say that all the epic parts like Madara returning, Naruto going up against Toby finally, a lot of these moments definitely outweigh and outshine the negative. But let me know what you think. Were you overall disappointed with the war thus far, or did you enjoy it thoroughly and you see the problems, but there's also reasons for certain problems and whatnot, and thoroughly enjoy the art? Let me know in the comment section or with a video response, letting me know what do you think of the 4th Great Shinobi War. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up if you can't wait for more of the war, because for me personally, the war overall has been pretty interesting and very exciting to see what fight is going to go down next and how things are going to play out. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.